to give you the best advice I can give you related to what you should buy as a Mac. And what you see here is what I would call my final Mac upgrade, as in the final gaming solution you'll ever need to do for a very long time. Yes, I went with the MacMini, but in this specific case, I souped up the MacMini. I chose the i7 6-core. The 2020, which gives me more storage, I think I upped it to about 512. And I added this Satachi hub as well, which gives me more ports. I connected that to an eGPU, which is the Razer Core X, and I added, let's call it medium tier size or power RX 580 AMD, and it does really well. I'm going to be showing you in games as an example to show where you would be and where you are right now by doing this upgrade. Now the reason for that is because you're never going to need to upgrade again, not for a very long time, because the only thing that you're going to be changing in this case will actually be the GPU. Here I have all my external storage because clearly half a terabyte isn't enough. So I have a Lassie 4 terabyte, I have a NAS as well, I also have a 2 bay, so this gives me the additional storage that I'll need. Here's some peripherals that I had. I mean, you can go whatever you want. I went with a mechanical keyboard. This is not the mouse that's on display, it's actually just recently broken, and I went obviously with a 34-inch 4K screen, which is really nice. It's a curved screen. I'll have all the description and the links for every single item you see over here in the notes, and it'll show you what I went with. As you can see here, the screen does also 100 frames per second, and with that eGPU, which is again, it's not an expensive eGPU, I think it's around 250 Canadian dollars, you can do wonders. So here I'm going to show you a quick example. This is World of Warcraft, and I'm setting it up to pretty much the highest possible setting. This is running at 4K, as you can see, and I'm doing about 53 frames per second. Now, I mean, you can play at this highest resolution and it's still playable. Obviously, this is not in RAID, so you probably have to drop it a little bit. Now remember, your bottleneck isn't actually the CPU or the actual Mac itself, because you have a very fast storage, which by the way, the game is on that fast storage. I added 32 gigs, so you can actually do that and buy those RAM externally. I'll also have links for that as well. So it'll save you a bundle and getting it from Apple. And with 6-core i7, honestly, you won't need to upgrade this for a very long time. I would say at least 8 years. And the only thing that will change is that eGPU and the Razer Core X, you just swap it for another card, go instead of the 580, go to the 5700 XT or whatever at that time, which will, would be budget friendly. It'll give you all the performance, and that's it. That's going to be your final solution. You don't have to worry about the new iMacs, which dies because the graphics card, usually the first thing that dies in all these, even the MacBook Pros, the 15-inch, they have a heating problem. So unless you want a permanent solution to this, you're gonna have to move to this solution. So here, when I dropped a little bit on the graphics, I'm now doing 85 frames per second, which is plenty. Even when you're doing raiding, it might drop to around 70, 75. And as you can see, it's very playable, it's smooth. And mind you, that the 580 AMD RX 580 8 gigs is running a full 4K, and it's running 2 monitors. So I'm running 2 monitors actually at the same time, and it's doing just fine. There's no real heating issue anymore. I have a few fans there just to keep things slightly cool, but when I measured with the temperature laser gun, it actually it's quite cool. So it's not an issue anymore. When you're looking about gaming, you're not, here I dropped it to 5, which is recommended, and you're gonna see you're playing at 100 frames per second. And I don't think it's really noticeable in the graphics, but I mean, you can play around and see what would be a best balance for you. And obviously not many people will be running a 4K monitor, so you can actually go up to a higher setting, and since you're pumping less pixels obviously. So this gives you an idea how this solution kind of fixes it for everything. I'll go through other games as well. I mean, I have also ran parallel to run Windows at the same time. I didn't do boot, But I mean, it's gonna give you the same kind of performance. I mean, there's no point in demonstrating every single game. It just kind of gives you an idea how doing this will kind of fixes all the problems you're gonna have for now and a very long time. You don't have to worry about anything Apple comes up in the future. You don't have to worry about what the graphics card is gonna be internally in that 13 or 15 inch. You don't have to worry about the very minor, frames per second gain here and there. You're gonna play very smooth. You're gonna play at high resolution. You're not gonna worry about, any future proofing for a very long time. And here I'm demonstrating now Heroes of the Storm, also playing 4K. Now I'm playing ultra graphics, ultra everything, and setting the refresh rate to 100 megahertz. So that's a maximum you can give it. And look what it's gonna give you. It's hard to see at the top left, but I can read it for you. But originally at high it was running something like 128 frames per second. Now I think it's gonna run around 83. We're gonna see. Yeah, you're running around 85 frames per second. So I mean, it's plenty, and you're running at ultra, so that's the highest setting. So we're gonna go through this a little bit, and then I'm gonna show you other games as well. But you're gonna notice sometimes it's gonna be a little bit choppy here at ultra, so I would actually lower it a little bit, just so you can have a smooth experience, especially if you're kind of not playing against an AI. Those slight seconds will make a big difference. But here it is. Now price-wise, obviously it's going to be a little bit of an overhead, but it's still going to be cheaper than buying an iMac or cheaper than buying, a MacBook Pro 15-inch and soup up all the, graphics solution that they have if you want to up the graphics for the 15-inch or the iMac and so on, and add more RAM. So it's still going to be cheaper, but you're actually proofing it for the future, because it's very unlikely the Mac Mini will die. Because you're not even using the internal GPU even. You're not worried about the heat problem. I mean, yeah, you have 6-core, but it's not going to be running hot for a very long time. You can add additional cooling, by the way. The accessories that I added for it, like the hub that goes under it when you remove the cap, kind of actually keeps it cool, keeps the air flowing from the bottom. You can also add a fan on top, which what I did also keeps it cool on the top as well. I changed the fans within the Razer Core. I put the Nocta fans, which run faster and quieter. So you can go ahead and make some changes for noise and so on. Okay, here we're gonna go extreme settings to see if it's gonna make much difference. But yeah, you can go all these solutions, and it's gonna be really your last upgrade you're gonna do for Mac gaming, or even PC gaming, because you obviously can do boot camp and run games on Windows, and it's gonna run just as well. See, here now we're doing around, I would say, at the extreme is going about 59, so about 60 frames per second, which is, you're running extreme setting 4K on a 580 on a Mac, and you're getting 60 frames per second. So try that with an internal GPU. You're just not gonna get it. If this was running the regular GPU on the, I think it's the 620, on the Mac Mini, you're probably gonna be running, if at the extreme, you're probably running like 5 frames per second. If you can play that probably high at like, 35 frames per second. So I remember the numbers I wrote down, but I mean, it's a huge, upgrade by doing this, and it's permanent. I think the Razer Core is around $400. The RX 580 is around, I would say 250. All this is in Canadian dollars, so it'll be around, let's say, $650 or $700, depending, if you want the chrome, with the colors and so on. But I mean, there's many ways you can play around and then decide if you want to go that high on the GPU or not. But it is really gonna be your final solution. So look how fast it is. This is the high setting, which is what I would recommend you play. It's very responsive, it's very fast, it's not laggy at all, and it's quite fast. And again, look, you can always upgrade that GPU and get something a little bit better, paying instead of 250, maybe 350, and get maybe the Vega or the 5700 around $500, and then you can run pretty much everything at the extreme setting, at the extreme everything. Yeah. So now we go Diablo. Here I'm pretty much running at 4K I'm gonna put the maximum frames per second. Texture is high. I think that is the high setting you have. And as you can see at bottom right, you're doing around 60 frames per second. I don't think there was a way to go higher than 60 frames per second. At least maybe I couldn't figure it out. Not maybe I would have lowered some setting there, but we'll see. So I'm doing 59 frames per second. And the maximum setting I can see at Diablo theme 3, I think. And see now it's 74 frames per second, 60, 69, 66. So I'm gonna see when there's more action, see how it responds. So 70 frames per second is not bad for the highest setting you can do in Diablo. And you're never gonna see that on an internal GPU, not the Intel one. You're probably gonna you'll be lucky to get 20. So here with some action, 63 drops a few frames. Let's see what is it now. There's a lot. Give me a second. Here we go. Dropped to 58, 59, 53. So it's quite reasonable. It's quite playable. You're not gonna. Again, you can lower the setting a little bit, but you're never gonna, have a bad experience doing it this way. And it'll just make your life easier, by far. And the best part is unlike my other Macs that keeps dying, it's not like one thing dies and then, good luck trying to repair it or, spend, thousands maybe to have Apple fix it or replace it. Because you can't, if the GPU dies, that's it, your Mac is gone. Your Mac is gone, your MacBook is gone, especially if it's out of warranty. But in here, okay, your GPU dies, no problem, pop a new one. And your CPU, I never seen any Mac Minis die, by the way. I never seen them. Even I've seen older ones from 2011 are still running quite fine. I think I have also one from 2013 that's also running as a server fine. So the heat for the CPU is not a problem. That's gonna run for a long time. And storage, you can add as much storage as you want. So you're really future-proofing it as long as you want. So you're doing now 70 frames per second. Drops like the lowest I've seen was I think 58 or 56 frames per second, so it's quite reasonable. That's again, now we move to medium, high, medium, high. Let's see. Can try putting it low, see if you're gonna gain a little bit more frames per second. 75 from what I'm seeing here, but you don't really need to because it's not really changing much as you can see. You're gaining maybe 5 to 10 frames per second, but still very playable. But it's not a significant improvement. It's not a significant difference. The eGPU is doing quite well. I know you lose a little bit when you're doing it through Thunderbolt instead of being internal, but just consider it to be 80% as powerful as it needs to, and it's doing just fine. So that's it. We're gonna drop it to medium, see if that's gonna make a difference. I think we start to notice a little bit now on the quality getting dropped, but not for the frames. The frame's still the same, so it didn't even affect the frames per second even with that. Mind you, everything you see here is lower than it should be because I'm actually doing a screen record. So that's actually sucking a little bit more on the CPU and the GPU while we're recording the screen. So it actually would be a little bit higher if I was just doing it with the camera, just pointing to the monitor. And I think I'll do that for one of the video like StarCraft 2, just to kind of give you an idea that you're actually always going to get higher than what you see here simply by doing that. Of course, you can close other applications, you can add more RAM. Again, I went with the i7, so don't cheap out on the CPU when you get the Mac Mini. Just focus really on the having better CPU, 6-core i7. The RAM you can add it installed yourself. It's super easy. I'll link down like an Amazon link for the RAM. I can even give you a link of how to install it. It's really quite easy as long as you get the toolkit. You save a bundle of money. I think it's like 50% for the RAM what Apple charges. So that's the best way to do it. And that's it. You future-proof this for, I mean, I estimate at least 8 years, maybe longer. We'll see, because I think maybe in 3 years I might upgrade the GPU. CPU will be more than enough for a 6-core for everything I do on the Mac. Again, you could be doing different stuff. You could be doing video editing, which makes more of a difference, but not for a gaming solution. You're not gonna have a problem. See here, pretty much I'm turning off all graphics, just basically giving it the lowest setting ever, to see if you're actually gonna make any difference in, performance. And I don't think it will, but we'll see, because it seems to be more consistent anyways, regardless of what setting I put. It's still pumping up the same amount of frames per second, but let's see. Yeah, it's still 71 frames per second, so you can might as well put it at high, because you get better graphics and you're not really even losing. It went up to 75, so it's a little bit better, but I mean, it's negligible. Here, we're gonna do StarCraft. Here, I'm just gonna show you, not with screen mirroring to record it. I'm just gonna point the camera at the screen just to show you how fast it's gonna be on StarCraft. I will go, I think, at the high setting first, just to give you an idea. Then you can see yourself that you're really going to play quite smooth. You're going to play quite fast. You're not going to have any issues moving forward. Here, it's hard to see, but I can read it for you. You're doing right now. Let's see. This looks like 83 frames per second. So for a second, we're going to take a look at what we have for settings here. So yeah, let's go higher, let's go 4K, let's go, let's see how that's gonna look like. Let's see, ultra, metal, that would be a much better solution. That's it. So we're doing around, say, 83 frames per second. Quite smooth, quite fast, good graphics, and I mean, what more do you want? I haven't played this game in a long time, so don't mind me. So there's no point trying to even really lower the graphics, but here, let's take a look. This is running at 60 frames per second, 58 frames per second. And we're running ultra, so we can go ahead and play around, see if we can drop that graphics a little bit, see if we can shave a few more, get a few more frames per second, see if it's even worth our time. Let's drop it from ultra. Oh, there's an extreme. Okay, let's go extreme. See what that's gonna give us. Seems still buttery smooth. 54 frames per second at the highest possible setting, extreme 4K. I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to show you parallel running Windows within that current environment. Again, I could have done dual boot to Windows, which will run really fast. But I just want to kind of show you that you have more than enough CPU and GPU to be able to run games smoothly. Probably not first-person shooters. I would recommend you still do boot camp, and there's a video for that, so I'll also add that in the link if you want to see. But this is kind of to show you as an example, if you're playing, let's say Command & Conquer, any of these games in Windows in parallel, how fast and how smooth it goes. I don't think there's a way to show frames per second in this game, but I mean, you can see how fast, how responsive it is, the game, and how smooth it is. So you're really kind of, fixing this all together. Here, let's go. I think it's the highest I can go. I don't know, I didn't allow him to go to 3440, but I have it performance, probably maybe some setting here I did wrong, but anyways, I mean, you can play a little bit more with it, but it's not like it's struggling. As you can see, it's running quite fast, quite smooth. I could do more titles if you ask me to. I can definitely do more videos to show you how well it runs in, something like Parallel or maybe VirtualBox if you're interested. But honestly, for the better solution, obviously it's better to just install Boot Camp and have Windows games running on it, and it'll go really, really fast. It's gonna go very smoothly. There's already support. As long as you have an AMD GPU, you won't have driver problems, because once you install Boot Camp, it'll install all the drivers you need to for the GPU, and you kind of solve your whole problem all put together. But that's just how it's gonna go. So finally, I'm I'm here to help in any way I can to give you Mac advice. If you have any questions, if you're interested in knowing any of the items I use for my setup, if you have purchasing questions, advice, any questions, please send them in the comments below, and I'll be always answering your questions to help you out whenever I can. Thank you and good luck.